So I started in video games in 1999. My first game, the first title I worked on was FIFA 2000. And the second title was SSX. And I gotta admit that even today, 10, 15 years after, 15 years after, it's still a title that marked me. We were pushing all sorts of new boundaries with the technology. All of a sudden, we were on PlayStation 2, we could play big movies, 5.1 sounds. We were moving to the major leagues. We didn't know how the engine would handle the full 5.1 mixing and the power of the consoles. Here it is. I'm coming out. I was the announcer in Elysium Outs. So the French dude that you hear yelling and rapping over the course of the race, that's me. In the first SSX, there's the sound of you carving on ice. And it's a friend of mine that used the granular, I wish I would have done it, but it's a friend of mine that did it. He used a clap sound and passed through granular synthesis came up with that. If you know SSX, you know that sound, and that's the source. Basically, I worked on all the SSX. I used to work in the post-production studio in Vancouver, and so we did all the sound effects for SSX, SSX Tricky, SSX 3, the fourth one, a bunch of Need for Speed. I like big punchy sounds. I've learned, especially I think in Need for Speed, when you have intense pass-bys, you have it's all intense audio, and you have 3 cars on the screen. You have to decide which ones you're hearing, and so things have to be big, punchy, and clean. So I think those are my 3 words that I say all the time: big, punchy, and clean. So in and out, and just as clean as we can get. The highlight of all highlights would be Skate. Skate was a title of passion. I gained 35 pounds in the last 6 months, I think, so it was amazing. Everything was physics-oriented, so we built systems on systems and systems. And this is what I'm basing myself with a lot on in Army of Two Devil's Cartel right now, where I'm taking a bunch of systems, put them together. Even though we're not working in an open world, per se, I'm trying to build the world in systems, so that way when we have we have free accidents, I call them happy accidents. I love things like that, and I think Skate was definitely a highlight of that. There is a lot of stuff that I could show you. Breach the door. The pillars, for example, in this example, it could be break-in for anywhere. So what we needed to do was really to find a sound that would fit pretty much all areas, and we can even break that down per different crunch. So if we know that this is a big piece that's going to fall off, then we can change the sound. And Frostbite again allows us to do it piece by piece, like what kind of sounds we want to get. We could get really, really granular with Frostbite. It's quite amazing. So one of the important features in our game is the cover system. When you reach a cover, I think it's in the audio, the feedback should be that you're protected even though you're under attack. So what we do to do this is you get in cover, then we muffle a little bit of the gun sounds, but so you feel threatened because you know you're in battle, but you feel protected because you have that cover. The one thing that's really cool is when the cover breaks, the filter let go as well. So what the result is be like, oh, I need to move. Incoming grenade! It's really, really cool to be able to enter a room before it gets destroyed. You walk in, you do whatever you have to do, the battle blows up, the music starts, the intensity gets super high, and when it quiets down again, you walk towards the exit of the room where you came from, and nothing is the same because you're after the destruction. I think it's a really, really great concept, and it brings a level of detail to Devil's Cartel that I haven't seen a lot in previous games, so I'm really proud of that. Something that I've learned on Skate is nothing is better than going out yourself and recording. We vault on a cabinet, we vault on a table, everything's different, everything's crafted for these sounds. So I think as an industry, the video game industry, as far as sound, has come a long way in the last 10 years. I think we're all used to, the first time we heard a video game, everything didn't have perspective. Cars were in your face, voice were in your face, everything was just really, really, really up close to you. I think one of the things that I might have done earlier on was to try to record something and not having any movement in it. So you record an actor and you tell him, oh, you moved, I heard it, and then you end up with your video game or your scene sounding a little bit sterile because nobody's moving. And you go, I use EQ and I use compressors and I can't make it sound real until you realize, okay, we're going to put the mic a little bit farther back and the guy's going to talk like this. And if he moves, maybe if he watched does that, it's not good. If he moves, that's actually a good thing because it adds, realistic to the whole experience. So what I've learned, I think one of the biggest things I've learned in my career is movement is good. Movement is something that we need. If I record something with my recorder, I don't record it static. I move around and in the game in the end or in any sort of media, then I'll always have something moving. I had a trip at Dyess about 6 months ago, and it was illuminating, and that's not a light word. We got there at Dyess and saw how those guys were working. They were really, really team-oriented. Everybody talks to everybody. The art director will be talking to the sound guy, but also will give sound ideas. The front-end guy, everybody talks together, and everybody visits everybody. And so it's not the audio guy that's talking about the audio. It's like everybody kind of pitches in. So that for me was a very, very big eye-opening. Going like, yeah, we should direct ourselves towards that. And of course, working with guys from Woodward Shores, like Paul Gorman, for example, that's been he's been a director for years, and Charles Deanan, and just big guys like this that are right here, and just like you can call them up and say, hey, how did you do this in this game? And I have this situation, and I think it's great to have that communication in between studios. So I think some of the great games out there for sound, I mean, like there's various games for various situations. Games like Splinter Cell, I think have been really inspirational for me. Obviously Uncharted 2, I mean, that game was amazing on the storytelling, the soundscape, the cinematography. I mean, obviously if we talk about multiplayer, we think, Battlefield, Call of Duty. The fundamental thing about sound is that sound supports the media. As soon as we go, wow, that's a cool sound effects, even if it's cool, you lost your audience because the audience are now thinking about the sound. They're not thinking about the fact that the guy just got killed, but they're thinking about, wow, that was cool because of the sound, you lost it. So it's kind of hard because we try to shine, but you can't be, seen shining.